Hi guys, I'm Chris and welcome back to Karanga Cars. Today we're going to be looking at the practicalities of living with a Mazda MX-5. Think about this a little bit like an owner's manual to the MX-5 ND with a little bit of knowledge and experience of someone that's owned one of these cars for some time. We're going to talk about things like interior space, what to look for under the bonnet, servicing intervals, some of the hidden features that I've come across in even a simple car like this. I use this car, I guess I use it as my daily. I work from home most of the time, so it's not used every single day, but it is the car that I rely on to get me from A to B. And yeah, I have a heck of a lot of fun doing it. So let's see where this takes us. Okay, so one of the most important features of the car, I think, maybe a little bit boring, is the key. So on the key, we've got four buttons. We've got an unlock button, a lock button, a button to open the boot, and the bottom button, which is probably the most ignored button of them all, is the one that deactivates the movement sensors within the car so that you can park it and lock it up with either the windows open or indeed with the roof down. The key also has a little release for the emergency, which gives you the key blade so you can still put it in and unlock it if your battery's gone dead. And of course, with the key blade out, this is also how you would split the key to change the battery. Something that actually, one of the weaker points of this particular car, I've had to replace the battery in this key a few times since we owned this car, with it dying after only a matter of months. I think you need a good quality battery in it. I've got a Duracell one in it now and it's been lasting for the last 6, maybe 7 months with no issues at all. But do be aware, don't skimp on the batteries that you're putting in your key because they just run out, they won't unlock the car. And if you have to use that emergency key to unlock the car using the manual lock, it will undo the central locking, but it won't turn off the alarm. So when you open the door, the car alarm will go off. To tell you that that battery and the key is starting to go dead, you do get a little flashing key light in your dashboard, so the car will warn you in advance. Let's have a look under the bonnet. I think it's important to know what we do with our cars, how we maintain them, and what that means in terms of running costs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop in a car, I'm going to go down near my right knee, there's the bonnet release, I'm going to pop the bonnet and then lift it up and we're going to have a look underneath. The catch to release the bonnet is in the centre and we just pop it over to the right and up it goes. We have this little rod that's going to hold it in place and job done. Okay, so here we are under the bonnet. We've got this usual inline 4 as you expect in these cars. This is the 1.5 litre, of course. Right in the middle of the block, nice and easy, we've got a dipstick. So we can pull this out, we can check our oil as usual with a dipstick, make sure that our oil's topped up. In terms of servicing, these cars require servicing every 12 months. I think it's 12,500 miles, with something like 70,000 miles for spark plugs and 10 years, I think, for the coolant, if you want to stick with Mazda's recommendations. The engine itself is pretty small. It only takes 4.5 litres of oil, so a gallon bottle will see you fine for a change. So a gallon bottle and a filter and you are good to go. In terms of topping up the oil, again, nice and easy. Right in the middle of the block, we have the oil cap. As is always the case with any car, I suppose, you want to have a check, make sure there's no gunk under there, make sure the oil's nice and clean, and we're good on the oil side of things. The washer bottle is right in your face as you open the bonnet. Over on the left hand side here, you can happily see what's going on. It's a nice clear bottle. You can actually see mine's a little bit low. It's quite difficult to see through as it fills up because of the angle of it, but more often than not what I tend to do is fill it with a funnel and just look through the hole to see what's going on. Our brake fluid reservoir is at the back left. You can see through the reservoir to see if it's at the minimum or maximum level. The max level is just above this line. I suppose we've got a battery here and we've got a fuse box here if something a little more serious is going on. As you can see, the airbox is right up front and centre, nice and easy to change the air filter. Again, something that you would do in your regular servicing. As always, be really careful when you're under the bonnet because there are some hot components, the engine block itself, and the manifold's coming out on this side of the engine here, so don't burn yourself. Lowering the bonnet down is easy enough. We just plug that in there, push it down here, and just from a little height, and we're done. So you find me here around the back of the car, and what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about the boot space, the practicalities of the MX-5. Once you've had the car roughly 8 months or so, what you'll say to one of your friends who also has an MX-5, it's really frustrating, I'm really worried I'm going to lose the key, lock it in the boot accidentally and never be able to get it back because there's no button to get into the boot. It turns out that, well, you'll be wrong, and they'll tell you, why don't you just use the button that's around the back? What button around the back? Well, it turns out that Mazda actually hid the button to get in the boot around the back, down by the number plate, right under the bumper. I'll show that better in a moment, but watch this. There we go, the boot's been popped. Let's have a look inside. If we lift it up, we can see there's actually pretty decent boot space in here. You can get lots of camera gear in here. I've got a rucksack, a box, and the massive bag for the tripod that I'm using for this. Plenty of space for a couple of weeks shopping or a good weekend away. One of the plus points of the Mazda is the practicality of the car, especially if there's only two of you. Inside the boot, there's also an interior light on the left-hand side and some little handy Velcro straps that can be used to hold in things like maybe an inflation pump or something like that. Let's talk about the adjustability on the seat and indeed the space that we have in here. I'm quite a big guy, somewhere maybe 6 foot, certainly heading in that direction. And I have the seat as far back as it could possibly go. It's right against the bulkhead. What I tend to do, in fact, is to unrecline the seat a little bit so I can push the base back to have a little bit more leg room. I'm a 34-inch inside leg, if that helps for any of you. That's where I can sit comfortably. Any bigger than me, I would be a little bit concerned about fitting in the car, although do be aware that you can get seat lowering kits. Firstly, ones that just lower the part of the seat that you sit on, and secondly, ones that modify the runners to make it sit a little bit lower. Once you're in, the driving position is fantastic. You're sitting in the car, it feels fantastic. Everything is right exactly where you need it. And also the adjustability, well, as I say, for me isn't great. There is this further adjustment on the seat down for the front pad that tilts it up and down. Personally, I don't really understand why. It doesn't make any difference to me at all. I don't feel that it makes me any more or less comfortable. And the position it's in now, where the front of the seat is kind of facing upwards, making it almost bucket-like, I find it kind of infringes on my thigh a little bit as I dip the clutch. So I don't tend to have it like that. In terms of adjustment, the adjustment's nice and easy. It's a pull here to tilt the back and forth, and on your right hand at the front of the seat is the slider. There's also a couple of hidden storage compartments behind both the seats. In order to access those, you need to be outside the car. And you also have to tilt the seat forward. So we're just going to grab this, pull the seat belt out of the way, tilt the seat forward. In fact, we might just run it forward on the runners too. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a camera in there, see if I can lift this one up. And here we go, behind the seat, we can see this little panel here. 2 fingers in, I can pull it out, and we've got space for yet another baseball cap. Actually, this is like a kind of a bag. It's quite deep, as you can see here. I'll let me put that hat back in just so you can see the space quite well. Look, we can see a bit of space in there. Might be helpful for holding stuff that you don't think you're going to have to use very often, maybe things like a tyre inflator or a puncture repair kit. Obviously, you need to get out the car and put the seat forward in order to access it. So a little bit of hidden storage, same on the other side as well. Helpful to know, and if you never put the seat forward, which why would you, then maybe you didn't know about that. Also, there's a little bit of storage space around the front of the seat where you can keep the most vital of all equipment. If, like me, you're naturally streamlined, you don't have life's natural sunscreen available to you, things are getting a little bit thin on top, then under the front you can keep a baseball hat, which is right there, easy to grab as you're driving along, never slides down at the footwell. And of course, if you're MX-5ing properly and you're out in the winter with the roof off, which you should be doing if it's dry, out, roof off, on the other side, there is enough space, of course, for a beanie as well, right? What more can you want? Talking of the roof, it's a lovely, simple affair. The release mechanism is simply one clamp right in the middle of the roof here, and all I have to do is with my thumb push forward a little latch, pull down with my forefinger and middle finger, and that unlatches it. You might have heard the passenger side window just lowering itself there. Those of you that have had an NA or an NB in the past might remember the advice was always to wind the windows down a couple of inches just to make sure that if you're bringing the roof up, the weight of the roof on the glass doesn't cause any issues, doesn't break the glass. Well, here with the ND, the car does that for you automatically. Once you've done that release, all I have to do is push the roof up. You'll see the roof's now partially open, and what I'm going to do now is just push it over and then push it down with my forearm. And there we go, that's the roof stowed and we're good to go. As you can imagine, that can be done in very, very little time. whilst you're at traffic lights, maybe if the rain's coming on, something like that. Really nice and easy to do. When the weather changes and you need to get that roof back up again, it's just as easy to do the reverse. Just behind my left shoulder here, I can reach back and there's quite a large area that I can just pull. Um, the hood will pop up just behind me. I can then reach up, grab one of these handles, pull it over, and then pull the latch into position, and that's me with the roof back up. One thing of note is that when you do that, the window will drop, as I said before, a few inches to stop the weight of the roof going down on the glass. But what won't happen is once you've closed and latched the roof properly, you will have to manually put the window back up. It doesn't automatically go back up. Now, what that means in reality is if you're driving around and you park up with the roof down and you turn off the engine, then you put the roof back up. Because you've turned the engine off, you've only got a couple of minutes before the battery cuts for the window switches to get those windows back up. So it becomes something that you get used to quite quickly, doing the park up, pop the roof, bring it over, latch it, pull the two window switches to bring the windows up. If you don't do that, you then have to start the engine again. Kind of is a bit of a silly design in my opinion from Mazda, but it's no real big deal breaker. Who doesn't love a bit of tyre chat? And on these 1.5 models, these come as standard with a 16-inch tyre. And this maybe is a little bit problematic as the tyre range available isn't particularly great. You won't be putting things like a Goodyear Eagle F1 or a Michelin Pilot Sport 4S or something like that on a car. Arguably, with the modest power output of a car like this, you probably don't need it. On this particular car, I've chosen to fit Yokohama Advan Sports, which I think are good enough. When it gets into freezing temperatures in the winter, if you want to try and run them as an all-year tyre, they're not perfect. Obviously, you might want to look for an all-season if you live in a place where you're more likely to get ice or snow. But for the summer, they're fantastic. And in the wet, they're really good as well. I highly recommend them. And the bonus is, for a sports car, they're also really cheap. If you're not happy with that and you want something stickier for the summer, then you can opt to change the wheels. If you change up to the 17-inch wheels that come with the 2-litre cars, then there's a much wider range of wheels available. Personally, I'm more than happy with this choice on this car for both daily use and for going out on sporty runs. Once in the car, there's a couple of things to point out. There's some storage in the center console here. If we lift it up, you can see there's enough space to get stuff like your spare camera battery, maybe a small wallet. I've got a camera strap in here that I've taken off when I mounted my camera on the screen, and there's also some coin storage. The actual glove box is behind you here. It opens up and there's quite a lot of space in here actually. You can keep big things like baseball hats with no problem at all. There's also a cup holder in the car. It's located here as it currently stands, which means that your water bottle or whatever is behind you, but you can actually pull it out. Now this is just the one single cup holder that Mazda give you. You can put it here, you can put it basically in your own elbow, which is slightly irritating, but I guess for left and right hand drive cars that makes some sense. Or you can put it in the passenger's right knee by mounting it down here. I have no idea what Mazda were thinking when they came up with that one. For me, this is the only location it can really go in. I will note that I think if you buy a 2-litre car or if you buy one of Fiat's 124 Spiders, it comes with more than one cup holder. I think you get 2 as standard. Who knows where you're going to put the other one though, guys? Another thing that might annoy you with these cars is that there's only a single USB port. Now, I think this was changed maybe for the 2-litre model, but for this 1.5, there's only a single USB port. And of course, what I prefer to do is have a USB stick in it powering the music that's coming out of the stereo. Now, if you want to charge your phone, of course, when you plug that out, you've got no music to charge your phone. Again, after a few months, what your friend will say, well, why don't you just use the auxiliary socket if you prefer? And you'll say, well, there isn't one, right? But it turns out there is. It's just miles away, down the passenger footwell, all the way down here. You can plug a cable in and charge your phone quite happily at your heart's content. Just be aware you have to search in the passenger footwell to find the elusive cigarette lighter socket that is there. There's no actual cigarette lighter with it, it's just a socket, but you can plug in a USB adapter to charge your phone. Perfect. Once you're in the action seat, everything's right where you want it. The binnacle right in front of you looks beautiful. It's a black tile with white numbers on it, with that red line coming in at 7,000 RPM. There's 3 gauges in the gauge cluster. There's the rev counter right up front and center in front of you, which looks beautiful, with the speedometer on the right and on the left, an digital LCD screen that's made to look just like those gauges. I quite like the Mazda have done that. They, instead of going with something flashy, as they could do with what is presumably a colour LCD screen, instead they've gone for a black background with white dials. It's classy, it fits in with the analog dials, and it also allows you to do things like look at the range on the fuel tank, etc., just by pushing the info button on the steering wheel. I can scroll through what I've currently got, so miles remaining, MPG, current MPG, average speed, etc. In terms of things like the wiper stock is on the right hand side, not like the old NAs and I think NBs as well. The wipers are completely manual, as are the headlights. There's no automation here at all, but there is an adjustable speed on the right hand stock for different intermittent wipe speeds, which is quite handy to have. The headlights in this particular car are LED. They're absolutely fantastic, and given that this is a base model, I can only assume that they all come with these. I think you'd be really pleased with the output you get. Something that small sports cars generally aren't particularly renowned for, I suppose, in days of old, are good headlights, especially being lower down, but these LED lights are really fantastic. Now that we're out on the road, let's do a little speed test on the roof when I come up to this next junction. Now, there's no cars behind me, but it doesn't take long anyway. What I want you to do is keep an eye on this window here. The driver's window will drop down very slightly as I just pop the roof. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull up to a stop. I'm going to put my hand up to that clasp right in the middle. I'm going to flick back the safety catch, knock it down, push it up, and click it back. There we go, the roof is down. The dashboard also tells me the temperature outside. I can tell you it's a wonderful 10 degrees today, perfect for some oven top motoring. Beautiful roads, beautiful scenery. What more can you want? Of course, with that 10-degree weather, you might actually want to keep warm as well. What I'll say is, perhaps because the cabin's quite small, maybe because Mazda know exactly what people are going to do with a car like this, the heater in this car is actually excellent. So you can quite happily crank it up to hot. If you point it down to your feet, you'll feel your legs starting to burn and you'll actually have to back that off a little bit. It's not just about sun up, roof down, it's about dry weather, roof down. In some cases, wet weather, roof down. With the bit of rain, if you keep the speed up, you're not going to have any issues at all. The best thing about these cars, whatever the practicality is that on any form of sunny day, blue skies, sun shining in your face, sunglasses on, it's just fantastic to go out and hit some lovely country roads. If that isn't available to you, maybe you have to commute to work, it's also ideal. It's not going to let you down, it's going to be reliable, it's pretty good on fuel. There's not really much to dislike about these MX-5s. Now that we've been out driving for a while, I think it's only fair to show you what it's like to put the roof back up again. I don't know, maybe the rain's started to come on, maybe you're starting to get a wet head or something like that. You find a little lay-by at the side of the road, we look to stop, let's pull the car over here, and all you have to do is stop the car and reach over the back here, pop this up over the top, click, done, there we are, and we can pull off again. You can do that at a red traffic light or before you set off, nice and easy. With the roof up and the windows closed, it's actually quite quiet in here. Obviously, it's still a soft top, so it's not going to be as quiet as a tin top is. It's not going to be as well insulated, but the roof is insulated at the front. I think it goes back to single fabric back here, but that does make a bit of a difference compared to some of the older MX-5s. I would never call an MX-5 a luxurious thing. If you're willing to put up with a little bit of traffic noise, a little bit of road noise, you're always going to sacrifice some comfort for driving experience, then you can quite easily daily one of these cars. What a beautiful day it is. Of course, it feels wrong to be out in a car like this on a day like this with the roof up. So as we pull up to this junction, I'm just going to see if I can stop briefly and just put it down. So I'm going to reach up, thumb forwards, pull down with two fingers, down go the windows, down goes the top. If you find this useful, please let me know in the comments, and if you spot something that I've missed through my journey around this car, then please let me know in the comments and maybe I'll mention it next time.